Hi there, it's Debbie from celestialastrologyhealing.co.uk, and today I'd like to talk about the forthcoming partial lunar eclipse, which is known as an appulse or penumbral lunar eclipse on Friday, the 5th of May at 17:33 GMT, that's UK time here in Scotland. So this is one of the last eclipses across the Scorpio and Taurus axes, with the last one happening on the 28th of October. So this is just an image of what happens during a lunar eclipse, which is always at full moon, when the Earth is between the sun and the moon and blocks out some of the sun, casting a shadow on the moon. So when there's a penumbral lunar eclipse or a pulse lunar eclipse, it's more like a dimmer switch, because the moon doesn't completely make a shadow like in other full total eclipses. So these lunar eclipses mark culminations or endings of certain chapters of our lives. So it's very much like a powerful full moon. So they can bring out changes in circumstance in our fortune in our lives. And as the moon is related to the feminine principles of our inner selves and our bodies, this could also, on a more general interpretation, be related to the downfall of lunar figures, female figures in the social workings of our life, in our governments or societies or royalties. Those that, as in the same way that the solar eclipses are related to the masculine principles of those in societies, such as royal male figures or politicians, etc. So here is a chart of the heavens at the time of the lunar eclipse on the 5th of May, and I can just point out what happens in the heavens, whereas when we have a full moon, we have the moon here at 14 degrees Scorpio, 58 minutes, always exact the sun at 14 degrees Taurus, 58 minutes. So it will depend how significant this is for you, whether you have planets within a 3-degree orb of 14 degrees Scorpio, 14 degrees Taurus, and also in the fixed signs of the fire sign of Leo and in the fixed signs of the air sign of Aquarius. So if you have planets within 3-degree orb of the 14 degrees of Scorpio and Taurus, you may feel this eclipse more strongly, because these are the pivot points of a chart. They're known as kentrons, or the angles of the chart, the 1st, 4th, 7th, and 10th houses. So I'm going to now go into some potential interpretations of what this might mean for you, bearing in mind that I don't do many of these interpretations and it may or may not resonate with you. I understand what the significance of the first house is. So, for example, if you are a Scorpio ascendant, this lunar eclipse will be happening in your first house, which is very much related to your personal health, your well-being, your psychology, and your mentality. And so this might be endings in certain patterns of behavior which are related to how you relate to others in personal relationships, because the eclipse is across the 1st and the 7th house axes. So the 7th house is related to other people and relationships, and the 1st house is related to you. So these feelings are likely to run strong, because Mars is the ruler of Scorpio in ancient times, and he is the god of war. So he's ruling over this eclipse and potentially may bring up some powerful, intense influences over your self-expression. This might give you profound abilities, profound changes in your life in relation to your personal health and intimate relationships, which may bring about changes for a new life direction in the future. So if you're Sagittarius ascendant like myself, this solar eclipse will be happening in the 12th house. So it might not be quite as obvious as if you were one of the fixed signs of the Zodiac, Scorpio, Taurus, Leo, and Aquarius, because the 12th house is a more hidden subconscious area of your life. related to the darker aspects of the psyche. And this will be opposite the 6th house of Taurus, which is related more to your everyday duties, work life, health, rituals, things like that, service to others. So it could be, you know, that when you're facing darker aspects of undercurrents of things, these psychologically may come out in your physical health and your day-to-day life. So taking time for yourself in privacy, with peace and spiritual practices might be helpful for Sagittarian ascendants during this lunar eclipse. And remembering that the lunar eclipse may have repercussions that unfold over the next wee while, over the next few weeks as well. So moving on to Capricorn, this is the 11th house where the lunar eclipse will be happening in Scorpio. And the 11th house is related to the house of groups, allies and friendships and community. So it may be that you decide to close the door on certain interactions with people who you previously brought out the best in you, but now you realize that you've outgrown those type of friendships or shared interests. And you need to focus more on the 5th house, which is more about your own sense of creativity and your own pleasures and joys in life. So it can be intense feelings around letting go of such deep relationships, but focusing on your own sense of development and enjoyment to enhance projects and creativity in the future. Before I continue with Aquarius ascendant, I would just like to say, if you've not subscribed to my channel, that would be most welcome. If you hit the subscribe button, this will help my channel grow. And I'm offering, once I reach 100 subscribers, a free natal chart reading. So make yourself public, contact me through my website and the links below, and let me know if you have any comments as well about what I'm sharing today, because this is quite new for me to give actual interpretations like this. So let's move on to Aquarius ascendant. This lunar eclipse will be happening in the 10th house, which is a very prominent place. In ancient astrology, it's the house of praxis or action, or what you're seen to do in the public sphere of your life. So oftentimes this is related to your career and your social reputation. So this could bring some sort of ending or some completion here in some role or responsibility that you have within your career life, and how this impacts upon your home and family. It may be that, you know, the sun in Taurus opposite the 10th house of Scorpio is giving a sense of needing to have some stability and security with the home environment. Which may be necessary to address for the future. So moving on to Pisces ascendant, this will be happening in the 9th house. And the 9th house is related to the higher mind. It's spiritual and religious ideas. It's truth finding. It's about your faith and that understanding of something that helps you know your meaning in life. And it's also related to further education, overseas travels, topics related to other cultures. So it could be that this may be an ending for certain beliefs that you followed in the past, or that no longer serve you, and you may be looking for new pathways in life related to spiritual, religious ideas, or different subjects to study that may enhance your understanding, to know your place in the world, or feel that you've got a sense of truth, knowledge, and understanding to help you in the future. So moving on to Aries ascendant, this is the 8th house where the lunar eclipse will be happening. Now, this is the house which is related to shared resources, other people's money that comes in from others, or that you share with a partner. So there could be some changes and endings here in how these finances are shared. And because Aries is Mars ruled, and this is a Mars ruled lunar eclipse, and Aries is in the 2nd house of the opposite house is the 2nd house. So I've lost my thread there. So the Scorpio is the 8th house, and Taurus is the 2nd house here. So it's about maybe working out how you can be more independent and use your own sense of control around your own resources. And some of this may exacerbate some fears around anxiety and money and income, because the 8th house is related to deeper feelings, taboo subjects, sex, death, rebirth, endings. But this may help to strengthen your resolve to be less reliant on others by using your own strengths and skills with that strong Taurian second house there about how you make your own income. Now, moving on to Taurus ascendant, this is happening in the 7th house, and this is one of the fixed signs which will feel this lunar eclipse more strongly. The 7th house is related to your personal relationships, so this may be very intense for you. Excuse me. The experiences around some type of ending, closing the door on some particular relationships of a personal nature, or it can be your clientele or those that you serve in a business capacity. So this may feel quite destabilizing, because the sense of security that you usually like, being a Taurian Venus ruled sign, it just means that relationships can't work unless both parties want to work together and compromise. And maybe this isn't happening in your life and you just feel, right, this is the end of it. Venus wants to bring together. She's the goddess of love, beauty, and harmony, and she rules Taurus. But the lunar eclipse is ruled by Mars, the god of war and battles. And then sometimes Mars just doesn't mind severing ties when he knows it's just, not worth continuing. So this maybe will bring new regimes into your life after this challenging time, where you can support your own sense of personal self-expression and rely on your own health and good practices for the future. Moving on to Gemini ascendant, this is the 6th house. The lunar eclipse is taking place in the house which is related, well, it was called Mars's joy in ancient times, but it's related to everyday routines, rituals, service to others, things that we do in a sort of way of repetitive duties. It's just things like, originally it was the house of service and servants. So it's about how you work in your everyday life, and also how that has a bearing on your own physical and mental health. So it could be that this lunar eclipse may bring to an end previous patterns of how you worked by reflecting on what's necessary for the future, by attending to the fact that your physical health and your physical body may need support and changes for the future. It's not necessarily one of the stronger houses because it's adverse to the Scorpio house and the Taurus house. So moving on to Cancerian ascendant, the 5th house is where the lunar eclipse will be taking place. This is the house of Venus's joy, and it's related to pleasures, love, children, and creativity, anything that's pleasurable. So it may be that there's some realizations of different things now, that you've outlived certain pleasures, what you were looking for before in your life. And so there's going to be a closing of the door here in some relation to where you have found pleasures and enjoyment in life. The sun's in the opposite house of friendships and community. So perhaps you'll find some allies that can help you find new areas that you can engage with allies and friends who you would treat as family in this realization to make changes. And then we're on to Leo, the 4th house, where the lunar eclipse will be happening. So Leo is a fixed fire sign, so this could be more prominently felt, and it's going to be in the house of home and family, roots and ancestry. It could be that this house is also related to the father in ancient times. So there could be some endings here in some relationships related to the home and connections within the family. At the same time, the sun is in the very visible 10th house of public reputation, status, and your work and career. So, this might be that you'll feel ready to express yourself more dynamically in that outside world, away from the home. It could be important to use practical regimes and routines to enhance your sense of security in the world at large, as you're being seen more visually by the general world. Moving on to Virgo ascendant, this lunar eclipse of Scorpio is taking place in the 3rd house, which is related to your local environment. This house is also to do with technologies and short journeys and communications. It's also the house related to relationships with people like your cousins, aunts, and uncles. So there could be some endings or changes here related to how you react with others and interact within your local environment, your immediate environment, whilst at the same time feeling that you need to be able to express your own personal beliefs that may be influenced by spiritual or religious nature, because the sun is in the opposite house of the higher mind. So it's important for you to find some sense of meaning and purpose in your life And that might mean closing the door on some of the habits and routines that you've had around your everyday life, day-to-day life in your local environment. Moving on to Libra, second house lunar eclipse. This is taking in the place in the house of Scorpio, related to your own personal skills and resources, how you can make your own money, what you take into your body. So there may be a sense of realization that in the ways that you're handling your own finances or using your own skills, and it may be that you changing this in the future. Maybe this will involve sharing your financial responsibility with a partner if you are involved in a relationship, as the sun is in the opposite 8th house of Taurus, which is related to a sense of karmic debt. So it's about sharing things, balancing things. So remember that when one door closes, another door opens to create new opportunities for the future. So I believe I've gone through all of the signs of the zodiac. Let me know if any of that resonates with you. With astrology and interpretations, it can mean quite a wide spectrum of different things. And yeah, I may be hitting the nail on the head for some of you. Others, you might not feel this. I find this myself when I listen to astrology podcasts by astrologers that I follow. Sometimes it resonates, sometimes it doesn't. But just be aware that this lunar eclipse in Scorpio may be intense. There may be changes. There may be endings. If you're interested in a personal reading with me, subscribe to my channel, get in touch, see the link below. I have lots of free videos on my website where you can see about how you can work out your own natal chart using free data from AstroDensed, and how you can work out your own natal chart, see where your sun, moon, ascendant, and other natal planets are by entering in your birth date, time, and place. Crucially, the time of birth gives you your ascendant and therefore creates the house cusp using whole sign houses, which is how I've been doing it over the last 3 or 4 years with ancient astrology, Hellenistic astrology. So thanks for listening. I would really appreciate you subscribing to my channel. When I reach that 100 subscribers, bearing in mind I've not been doing YouTube videos for very long, it takes a while to grow your channel, for people to find you. I've even tried doing a wee TikTok thing here or there, but yeah, that's another story. I'd rather share knowledge and wisdom rather than, I haven't quite found out how to do my TikTok things, but I know that young people who are stepping out into the world, you know, can glean a lot from having a personal reading, because a natal chart shows you your natal promise. It's a map of the heavens frozen in time, showing the potential where your gifts lie, where you may have skills and particular ease in your life, as well as where there may be challenges. And so understanding those skills can help us as individuals recognize our strengths and challenges and work with that in this lifetime. The birth chart shows you the likelihood of these influences in this lifetime as spirit beings in a human body. And we have choice as humans, how we choose to live and how we're going to walk our path. But knowledge is a helpful tool. And so if you're interested in learning more about astrology, just have a look at my website below and get in touch. So thanks again. Thanks for listening. And I welcome any comments based on this forthcoming lunar eclipse on Friday, the 5th of May. Bye for now.